Welcome to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I'm your host, Darrell Scott, and together we will dive into the lives and careers of the jazz legends who have left a rhythmic imprint on the world. Be prepared to reminisce on the highs and the lows of their musical journey and the trials that sculpted their timeless musical gems. We'll preserve the legacy of these extraordinary maestros and find inspiration in the melodies of their lives. Subscribe now and never miss a beat. Now, let's get to the show. Welcome, everybody, to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I'm Darrell Scott, and if you're from Cleveland, you more than likely have heard of Hubb's Groove. Hubb's Groove plays gospel, R&B, soul, jazz, basically the whole gambit. And we are very fortunate today to have the leader of this band, the very versatile Robert Hubbard. Robert, welcome to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. How are you doing? And just to begin, just tell us how Hubb's Groove began.
Man, I'm doing great, doing great. A little chilly, but I just turned on some heat, so I'm warming up. Uh, Hubb's Groove it began out of this group called Moments Notice. And that started in 95. And it all began because I was on the road with a group I won't name. But however, I was supposed to go back on a tour. And they decided the dates that they had, which was going to be like a 3-month run, they decided that they just wanted to do track dates. And I'm sorry, I was waiting. Just had a guy just deliver my piano, so maybe I should get a chance to show you guys that. And so the dates got canceled, and we were sitting at home, and I had a group of guys that I was in and out of town, coming in and out of town playing with, and we started to go ahead and put the band together. My younger brother, Rodney Hubbard, this guy named David Heeman, Aiden Backus Jr., and the legendary late Clifford Colson, bass player extraordinaire. And we started in the basement of my mom's house. That was probably 90, I think my wife said 95. 95. And then fast forward all the way to, we went through a couple of different name changes, but how we got to Hubb's Groove was '06. I was under another name, and it was a businessman and myself owning the name. However, they wanted to start charging me part owner for using the name anytime I used it to play local gigs that I didn't. And that was one thing with left. Then I used Hubb's Groove, and it worked itself out pretty much.
Okay,
It's
so
worked itself out to go Hubb's Groove. I was doing most of the work, so I just blow right on into Hubb's Groove. People seem to uh, be able to make that correlation. Hub Groove, Hubb's Groove, and it worked. People liked it, so in 2006 we officially went to Hubb's Groove.
And you play the drums. Is that all you
Yes.
play? So
Uh,
go ahead.
yes. Yeah. Pretty. I play very, as far as professionally, yes. I'm a drums. I'm a drum programmer. So anything with that kind of, that's my little area like expertise, if you would say.
So when did you start playing the drums?
Start playing the drums. Start off in church. 5 years old. Most drummers start off on, the bongos and playing a few songs for a choir. Um, and I started under this guy named David Crawford. His brothers was the early version of my brothers and I, the Crawford boys. And this guy named David Crawford was playing drums for my dad, had a gospel group. And so I started playing drums because he started singing. And once he went to full-time singing, then I became the full-time drummer. And then my younger brother came up to start playing drums. But God blessed him to learn how to start playing piano. And I
Mm-hmm.
stayed on the drums. So I started about 5 and didn't start, playing, getting to reading music till later on, like 13 or 14. But when I first started with everything, was by ear.
So don't get me wrong. Not that
Mhm.
I'm always the most intelligent musician. How does a 5-year-old play drums?
So at 5, well, for me and I guess my siblings and even my nephew, I have a phenomenal nephew who's a phenomenal drummer now. And at the very young age, he was probably 5, or he might have been at 4. Um, you, I guess they saw the rhythmic thing in me. I could keep time. I understood the right hand, what the right hand did. I understood what the left hand did. And I would watch the drums, and it just, I don't know how, but it just sunk in, and I understood which hand went where, and I was able to keep time. And so at 5, you just start, it just clicks. The syncopation, understanding where every limb was supposed to go and where it should be, and where to play a feel at. And I, I wish I could go back and revisit that stuff myself back then, but it just was a natural thing for me. Also for my brothers, they all played drums before they moved to their primary instrument, and so it was just something that we just picked up because I guess in church, and we was going to church as much as we were, we always saw drummers, organists, piano players, and singers, and we all gravitated to our different instruments, and that's the best way I can explain it. It just 5 years old. That's what I was doing, you know.
What what made you pick, were the drums kind of just given to you, or was that something that you chose because you liked it as opposed to the saxophone, the piano, the
For what my
flugelhorn?
mother, for what my mother said to me is when I was very young, I was getting the pots and pans, and they had the wooden spoons back then, the big
Right.
wooden spoons, and she said I would get that and pull her pans out and beat on her pans. I have an old picture. Gosh, I got to be about, yeah, I was about 5 or 6 of me playing on the snare drum with a sucker on the little counter. The
Mm-hmm.
guys always tease me about, like, I bet you put that sucker back in your mouth after you get to play the drums. I said, bro, he did. But yeah, so it's just something I always gravitated to and loved to do.
Nice. So you're in high school and you're playing, you get out of high school, you go to college. At some point from college, come back to Cleveland and you're getting gigs and you're respected. What was when you got your first major phone call from an artist and they said, I want you to play with us, I want you to tour with us. How old were you? And then how did you feel? How did you go? Were you cool and calm or were you like excited?
So if I could just slide back a little bit more. So I
Okay.
was fortunate to go to high school, Cleveland School of Arts, but let me slide back a little bit more so I can give you, uh, yeah, let me slide back to 13, 14. I was just doing gospel. Didn't know anything else but gospel from 5 to probably 13 or 14. And at 14 years old, this guy named Darrell Sales, he was attending Tri-C Community College. And he invited me out to hear a guy named Art Blake.
Hmm.
I had no clue. I didn't know who he was. He just said, hey, come down to Tri-C. I guess this room is called 110 or whatever. He's doing a master class. You need to check him out. Like, really? So my parents wasn't able to take me. He said, man, it's just one bus from where you live. I live between Cedar and Quincy, 10
Hmm.
houses from the Caribou house. So I had to figure out how to catch the bus
Right.
down to 30th. And so I caught the bus down to 30th. really, barely saw Tri-C, but I found my way somehow miraculously to room 110 and got in there and got a chance to witness and see this great master drummer named Art Blake. And he just what changed my life so I could get to my first professional drum thing was he changed my life because he gave his definition of what jazz was to him. And he just basically said it was something that came from the creator that touched went through his mind to his heart to his limbs, then from his limb to someone else's heart. And
Mm-hmm.
that was jazz to him. And that's when I said, that's what I wanted to do. So I eventually I auditioned for Cleveland School of Arts twice, got in the second time, which was my 11th grade year. Then after I finished high school, I attended to a Christian college in Texas. And I did that for a year and a half. Then I came back, Cleveland, had child on the way. I wanted to do right by my uh, uh, child's mother and my child. And I came back to Cleveland and started doing the local scene. But my first gig was I was 20, 22.
Mm-hmm.
A group out of Cleveland named Men at Large
Yes.
asked me to be their drummer. And I started playing, just little local shows for them. Then we got a chance to do a tour. And then I got a chance to do Arsenio Hall show
Mm-hmm.
at 23. So how did I feel when I first got that first call? One, it was family pretty much because Jason and I kind of grew up together, so that was cool. But my first major gig outside of someone I knew was with this tour play called uh, "Good Man Is Hard to Find," and they saw me at a local club. And the bass player for the play was like, "Yo, wow, we need you." And I'm like, me? So he had me come to the show. This is the craziest. But I think about it now, it will probably never happen now. But he had me come to the show. He was raving so much to the musical director about me. The music director said, "Hey, play the first song, man." I said, "I like what?" He said, "You'll find it." It was a song called "Sweet Sticky Thing" by the Ohio
Ohio Players.
Players. And I set in, and he like, yeah, yeah. So I'm like, but that happened before. It happens. People always say things, but I think a month later, I get a call and they say, "Hey man, can you come out to Richmond, Virginia, and finish out this last part of the leg of the tour?" And I think I had to call a lot of people because he was excited. I couldn't believe it. I said, I couldn't believe it. They're gonna fly me to Richmond, Virginia. Uh, I'm getting flown out to play for an artist. It was a great play. It had great artists who came out of that play, and I was thrilled. I was 23. Um, it was major. I can't explain the feeling. It was nervousness and excitement at the same time. So one, you're going out there with people you don't really know.
Right.
You're hoping that they really do like you, as
Mm-hmm.
far as you're playing. And other things like, man, and now you leaving what you're used to. And so it was a mixed feeling for me. So I got out there and I stayed out on the road with them for, I want to say, we did 93, 94, and a little bit of 95. I stayed out on the road with the play. And then right after the play, I got my next major artist. I had to lead the play for this platinum group called Changing Faces
Mm-hmm.
that was produced by the the guy we call R. Kelly or Robert Kelly.
Right.
he was an artist, and people like, but I can't be ashamed of working for that artist because he everybody has their opinions. Um, some of the greatest minds with some of the sickest people.
Oh, yes.
I mean, he was a gifted. He's phenomenally gifted.
Right. Yes.
Um, you know, and that's all I can tell people. I said, man, listen, you can't tell me another artist besides Michael Jackson, Prince, and those guys that really was like he was, as far as writing for other artists, and just being that, now Usher is coming into that, but he, as an artist, a writer, he was phenomenal. And so I don't take that away from his artistry. The other part of him is just that's part of him, and that's between him and he gonna have to deal with him and God.
Right.
That's how I
Yeah.
look at it. But I got a chance to tour with this group called Changing Faces, and from there on, it went from Changing Faces to old school R&B, Angela Bofill, Mickey Howard, Fester Williams. But that first tour will still always be my greatest tour because a lot of musicians talk about that first tour is our best tour ever. It's it's what's it? I would say oxymoron, or it's crazy because it's your biggest tour. You
Right.
probably made the you probably at that time didn't have that many deals, so you made your most money, but you blew all of it
Right.
because you didn't
Hmm.
understand. You didn't understand what was going on. So
So
yeah, the go ahead. I'm sorry.
we're going to take a quick break, and not actually a break. We found some music that you guys have played. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
listen to this selection from Hub's Groove. That is nice. That is Hub's Groove, and we'll have more from them in a few minutes. So, you played behind Randy Crawford,
Yeah.
Roy Ayers, Yellow Jackets, Angela Bofill, just to name a few. What what do you think that you provide to enhance their show? But I guess the greatest thing is what is it like sitting there playing behind these artists?
Oh wow. So you always have some. Well, some guys say they don't get nervous. I always get nervous because you're hoping that you are recreating in your vibe, but recreating the music that they are accustomed to, but putting yourself into it, and they accept it and they enjoy it. So it's a weird place sometimes. Sometimes it's cool. They let you be more of yourself. Then other times they want exactly how the record is. And so you find that out very quickly. They were like, that wasn't on the record. That's not, and it's not feeling like the record. They'll tell you. Um, and you had some artists like that. But
Here's the thing that
I'm trying to think. Mm-hmm.
here's the thing that always gets me. When I'm watching a stage performance, whether it's Bofield, Yellow
Okay.
Jackets, or whoever, to me, there are two constants in every song: the drummer and the bass player. You're always playing. You don't necessarily have a chance. Your time to rest is between songs. How do you
Right.
how, how do you do it? Let's just talk about the stamina of doing this, of playing. If it's a 90-minute set, you're playing probably for 85 minutes. So do you work on your stamina? Do you have to gain stamina? What do you do to practice that?
So those early years of mine, I would literally probably practice 4 hours a day. Probably if my mom, she'd probably say 6 hours.
She heard
Because
you for 6 hours.
yeah, because that was my job. So I would
Hmm.
at least put at least 6 hours in on the drums in the earlier years. And then when did take on the job, I still would do at least 2 to 3 hours after I got off of work. And I would come in and practice. even if I'm tired. So the goal was, me and my buddy talked about. He said, push yourself through your tiredness. So if you do become tired on the stage, you have what we call reserve chops. It's just some chops that's automatic. You automatically just can play that. You might be tired, but because you already pushed yourself in your own time past that, it just natural. So it's like a reserve. We call it reserve chops. So that, and when you're younger, you just have a lot more stamina. Now, as I got older, the key is getting more rest.
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
the older I get, what my brothers do, like, man, you going to, like, for instance, we was touring with Angela Bofill one time, and we had to fly into New York. It was a cruise boat in New York. We had to fly in New York. You know, New York is hustle and bustle,
Right.
and you catching a cab. So we got to fly in New York, go through all the hustle and bustle. Then we got to catch the cab to the boat. Then we had to go through all the little security checks,
Mm-hmm.
do the hit, get off that. And they wanted to hang out, but we had another date in Newark the next day. I was like, I'm going to bed. Oh, you party pooper. I was like, but you all get the chance to chill out.
Right.
I'm playing the whole show,
Right. Oh,
and I
exactly.
can't miss a beat. I can't miss a beat. And that's why a lot of times, right under the musical director, the drummer is the next paid guy because he has that hot seat. The bass player can lay out, if the keyboard can fill in if the bass player fall or mess up. No one can fill in if the drums lay out. And everybody notice if the drums
Right.
lay
Oh,
out
yeah.
or mess
Yes.
up. They be
Yes.
like, what's going
Yeah.
on? So I would just go to bed. Man, I still do that now. You know, I just come in here after a show, take a shower, be gone to the next day. I can get to bed and say if I get there at 7 o'clock, they won't see me till 7 o'clock the next morning. Because you just have to get your rest. And that's the only way I can do it at this age, especially at this age now.
So, so like we talked about, there's Angela Bofill, Roy Ayers, Randy Crawford, blah blah blah. We go on and on and on. Each show is different. Is there an opportunity for you to rehearse for each show? Because I guess I just want to know, how do you prepare for shows?
Yeah. So most time they'll send you, uh, if it's a reading thing, they'll send you a chart along with the audio. Back in the day, it was by cassette.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're sending through we transfer or this other thing, Dropbox. They send
Dropbox.
some music between to your Dropbox or the Google Drive,
Mm-hmm.
and they just tell you how, they give you like some notes, and you sit down, you actually, or some artists just send you the song, say, hey, here's the song, and then you just listen to the records, play along with the records, and just they want you to know the material. So they like, especially like the hits, the breakdowns, the feel of the song. They'll give you a little wiggle room on tempos because everybody's tempos, because you'll hear a version of a song, a live version is a little faster, and
Yes.
then the actual recording is slower. So they give you a little bit, room for that. And some artists have click tracks, so they just have a little click track in your ears, and they can lead and guide you all through listening through the little click tracks. So it's different ways, but you have to put the time in. And the artists, they know if you have not. They know. They know. I want to say the first few bars. Oh, he didn't listen to my music, and I have had that. Not far as uh, well, be honest. One time with me, and I apologize to the artist. It was a bass player, and we was working so much, and that's why I started spacing out when I do national artists, because you have to take time to learn the music. And we was working so much, we didn't have a day where the whole band got together
Mm-hmm.
to run the person's music. And I normally make it a day, but we didn't have a day. So I just told everybody, listen to it, come, let's roll it. And we all came half rolling it. And I felt really bad. He was upset, and but at least I did get a call back, so he seems like he forgave us. And I
Right.
tried to explain to him. I said, "Man, we just had a back-to-back summer, and your date came in the middle of like a whole bunch of work, and we just didn't get a chance to really do what we were supposed to." I just told him it would never happen again,
And I think
but
as
it should
long as
never happen.
I think as long as you're honest with them, everything should be fine. Now, don't get me wrong. I have seen 500 shows, so I've seen a
Okay.
whole lot of drum solos. Where do they
Mm-hmm.
come from? I saw Harvey Mason at the Front Row Theater 126,000 years ago. They go to him. They go to him to play his solo, and I kid you not, he played the stage. So he got off and he's going all around the stage, but he's drumming on the floor. He's drumming on other people's things. How do you create your solos, or is it just at the moment that that mood strikes, you just go?
Yeah, so sometimes cadence might already be in the song, and you just take from that cadence, say if something, and you'll take from that and just add on to it, and then everything like so. You say Harvey Mason played the stage. That stage became his drum set.
Hmm.
He hit the stage. He heard some high tones. He heard some low tones. He's like, "Oh, I can work." And then it, you practice all these rudiments, but you don't want to play the rudiments. You just want them to flow through. So it just start coming, and then so you have guys from Harvey Mason, Billy Cobham. Billy Cobham is a monster
Yes, yes,
as far as speed and power. And so, those things just happen. And some days you have phenomenal solos, some days it'd be okay. Um, the my goal that I always say is still I want to be entertaining because that's what people remember.
right,
Now the deep musicians go like, okay, he was okay, but the other guys, the majority of the crowd just want to make sure it was entertaining to them, and they got something out of it. And so it's really a spontaneous thing. That was the beauty of jazz because it was improv, and that's what made certain cats to other people, step above because they improv this that spontaneous moment, and they can just take it and just go.
right.
Made them so phenomenal. That's what John Coltrane was so phenomenal. Miles he did some great solos. He was that cat. He
Yeah,
was just that
he
guy.
was,
He
he
was just
was.
that guy. You know what I'm saying? So he had to go as deep as John, but as far as or Charlie Parker, playing a whole lot of licks. But those cats like Coltrane, Parker, Herbie,
So as a
and
drummer,
now
who are your influences? Who influence your playing? Who do you follow? Who do you watch?
okay. So when I was playing gospel music, there's a guy out of DC. We call him Chucky, and my brother knows his real name. He was one of my big influence. The guy David Crawford, who I talked about, was one of my bigger influence. This guy named Andrews Murray, Matt Murray, as they call him. Local guys, as far as the local, let me just give you some local guys when I first started. Um, and this guy we call Uncle Greg. These and Michael Penny, I can't forget those was like the local guys. Once I got into the jazz world, it's this guy named Jeff Tain Watts.
Yes.
Jeff Tain Watts, to me, still is my favorite drummer of all times. I'm still like I go back to 14 years old every time I listen to him. And then I had the pleasure of meeting him, and I went back to 14 years old. When he was a little kid, he wanted me to play in front of him. I was like, uh, oh no, I can't play. He's like, man, I'll play something. And I hated that I couldn't play because I went to that little kid mode. But Jeff Tain Watts. Then as I got more into jazz, that's when I started going back and I got into Tony Williams.
Tony Williams.
I gravitated to Tony. I gravitated to Elvin. Those the and Jimmy Cobb.
Hmm.
If you hear me play that kind of music, Jimmy Cobb uh, was the mellow swing kind of guy in me. And then Tony, Elvin, and Tain was that other guy at me. I
Right.
like I said, well, why you didn't listen to Max and their buddy? I said, listen to him, but I didn't. Every musician gravitates to certain musicians. I didn't gravitate to Max as much or Buddy Rich as I did those other drummers, and it was just a different vibe for me. And I think the reason I gravitated towards, um, and a lot of people are shocked when I say Jimmy Cobb, but I heard this live Black Hawk 64 or something miles, and they played Walking.
Mm.
And here, prime example, 1990, 91, I'm playing at the boarding house. You remember the boarding
Yep.
house?
Remember the boarding house.
I was playing with Lamar Gaines
Okay. Yeah.
and Skip Gibson. I was the
Hmm.
young new cat playing with Lamar Gaines, Skip Gibson. And like I said, I was entertained. So Tain or Elvin, they had, power stuff. And they was smashing on stuff. But I'm at the boarding house. You can't play like that, because it's a small
Right.
place. And it had this song called Walking, and it was swinging. And I'm saying, like, he's not doing none of that other stuff. And I kept playing it over and over. I'm like, but it's swinging. And then I had to find out who that was. And I found that was Jimmy Cobb. And he became my hero because he kept me on the gig.
Hmm.
Because they always say, you got to bring it down. You got to bring it down. Once I tapped into Jimmy Cobb, they loved me. And it was like, I don't know what you done did, whatever you done done, just keep doing that. And so he say because then I had because my personality, I had two sides. I had that the edge side, then I had that this nice mellow swinging side.
Hmm.
And Jimmy Cobb was that guy. That then from there when I went to the funk fusion stuff, then of course you had the Lenny White
Hmm.
and Jimmy Cobb and this guy named Dennis Chambers.
Dennis Chambers. All right. Hang on a minute. We're going to take 30 seconds and play another track from
Okay.
Hub's Groove. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Hub's Groove. Welcome back to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I'm Darrell Scott. Our guest today is Robert Hubbard from Hub's Groove, who's been influenced by Jeff Tain Watts, Jimmy Cobb, Lenny White, a whole group of people. So if you don't know who these people are, I suggest you go out and get them, or you just go out and see Hub's Groove. That will solve all your issues. Now, you're still playing and you play various types of genres of music. So do you have like a collective, do you have one stable of artists who can be versatile enough to do you're doing a thing with Donny Hathaway, and you just do so much. How do you find those people?
So
How do you put those people together? How do you stay in touch with that?
so the initial group, and that's what we wanted the group. We wanted that kind of group where we went boxed in. Because my brother and I came straight from church and we went to the traditional jazz and with this guy named Cliff Colson. He was, I guess, gospel, but he was more R&B.
Hmm.
And then we had the guy named Dave Heeman, who was a jazz rock guy. Later on, we moved to this guy named Tony Polizzi on guitar, and we had Eddie Backus Jr.
Right.
on sax. If I didn't mention him, we had Eddie Backus Jr. on sax. We met Eddie at a young age. We love different styles of music. We just didn't want people to box us in. We love R&B, we love hip hop, but we also love jazz and we
Hmm.
also love gospel. And so we just didn't want to be boxed in. So when I first started the group, everybody had to be very diverse. And as it went on, I kept that theme happening. Even now, I gotta say, the guys in the band are still very diverse. Some guys a little bit more than others. Um, it's it, it's hard to find those kind of musicians,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really rewarding when you do, because then it's like you can go wherever you want to go. You know, if you hear we in the jazz vibe, but we want to go to R&B vibe, we can go straight to R&B vibe, or if we in a R&B vibe, we want to go jazz, or if we in a jazz, we want to change it to a blues or a quartet kind of thing, gospel quartet vibe, we can go there. And so it's like, it's just refreshing because you're not just stuck playing it one kind of way all the time, you know. And so I find the different musicians, and that's the hard thing, but I push all the musicians to be able to be very diverse in all kind of genres of music. At least know something about it.
So what are your group's rehearsals like? Because I bet that's interesting because you're playing so many different things, and I'm willing to bet you seem to be a guy that listens to your musicians. So they may say, I want to do this, and you're like, okay. Do you feel that way?
I am, but I also make sure I said like, all right, it's a song out right now. It's older now, but when it first came up, you know, Frankie Beverly got a song "Before I Let Go," right?
Yep.
Everybody
Mm-hmm.
know it. Beyonce redid it, right?
Yep.
So what happened? Uh, some of the guys in the band wanted to do the Beyonce version. I said we can do some of it,
Right.
but I think we need to make sure we lock in the old way for
Mm-hmm.
the old crowd, so they like say, oh, they know the original, but they just added a little twist to it.
Right.
And it's like, man, no, everybody would like it. And so, sorry about that. Um, I didn't want to, you know, so what I did, I just told them I judge the crowd. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I started doing. If we got a young enough crowd, we'll put the newer version in there. If not, we just keep it old. And everybody knows the old one.
Right.
And and the old one still works. It still works. And so in our rehearsals, um, I think I trained the team I got now is very they all right, my horn player and my vocalist are the newest members. So they had to get used to how we do things. Because I don't like to rehearse a
Mm-hmm.
whole lot of times. I like for everybody to do their homework, and we come in here and then we cross out all the T's and dot the I's. That's what rehearsal should be for. And so um, my horn player had to learn that the hard way because he was used to drilling it over and over. It's like, no, bro, that's what you supposed to do on your own personal time.
Mm-hmm.
And the horn player before this guy, I have Matt Horowitz with me now. Before him, I had Tony Watson,
Yeah.
and before that, I had Eddie Backus Jr. or Keith McKelly. With those guys, you can send them the song on your way to the gig. They listening to it. By the
Right.
time they get to the gig, they know the song. Everybody's not like that. Matt is the kind of guy he really wants. He has to learn all the lyrics to the song so he can play the song,
Mm-hmm.
and so he has to really learn the actual song. Where Tony and Eddie just they know the melody line and they'll like that on in. They might not know what the words say. They
Right.
know what the sound is supposed to make. So um, and so it's been different. And then I had a young guy straight out of college. Well, he was in college, so we got him. I think his sophomore year. He graduated. He just moved to North Carolina, and so we helped him out a whole lot. The
Mm-hmm.
learning of songs, because he was he's younger than my children, and so it's a big age and era gap. So a lot of the music he just didn't know. And so he had to learn all this music. But I think it helped him in his career because right now he's at a major, large church situation in Raleigh, Durham, and doing really well.
Okay. Let me
And
ask you
so,
these two questions because
okay,
I think part of it will help our listeners.
okay,
I can't go to the record store and get your latest CD. We want a CD. Is that in the
okay,
future?
yes, yes. I had to find out how much CDs cost to get made now. And
Okay.
so I did my research on it. Where I am right now, it's going to be the melting pot. Um, I don't know if you can see some of the drums. I'm trying to turn this a little bit so you can see a couple of the drums. So I have drums here, and I got a whole bunch of little stuff there. But all the way over there, you'll see a piano. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, so it's a baby grand piano. I got keyboard. I got bass amp. This is the future home of our studio. And I thought I'd put it on Do Not Disturb right now because I'm doing an interview, but they're gonna
Well,
keep calling me, but they're gonna be all right.
I guess the main thing is I think our listeners out there want to be able to reach out to you, follow your music.
Okay.
So
Yes, sir.
whatever you put out, please let us know. We will do our part to get it
I
out
will.
there. Um, Dude, this has been a pleasure. We've known of each other, I think, for a long time.
Right.
And it's a pleasure to do this, but we'll do our part. Once again, greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the time. Um, don't be surprised if myself or my producer Portia shows up at a show because we can follow you online
Please.
to see
Yes.
your different events and everything. So we'll
At
be at one of them.
hubsgroup.com. Yeah,
Hubsgroup.com.
come to
That's what I wanted to.
hubsgroup.com. Yes, sir.
All right, sir. Robert Hubbard, thank you very much. You have been listening to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. We will talk to you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I hope you enjoy these stories and soulful melodies that grew through the doors of time. If you want to stay connected with the latest updates and episodes, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Until next time, I'm Darrell Scott.